have order in the court, or I will have the courtroom cleared.
Officer Goodman was afraid of the defendant?
That's correct.
That seems incredible. Did you witness anything yourself that would back up this fear?
Yes.
Well, tell us what that was.
Frank felt that BJ was obsessed with him. Given her age, he was naturally concerned. Even though he didn't return her feelings in that way, he wanted to continue to be the loving godfather he'd always been. Unfortunately, she wanted much more than that.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness was asked about an incident that she witnessed firsthand. All of this is hearsay.
I'm only telling you what he told me on more than one occasion.
Objection sustained, Miss McCarthy. You will answer only as to facts.
Ms. McCarthy, give us some facts. When the subject of B.J. Walker came up, how did Frank Goodman react?
He became very nervous. I remember once I walked into a room while he was looking at a picture of BJ.
What did he do?
He just shuddered. He was very affected. He looked fearful.
Was this an isolated incident?
No. No, without exception. Frank was visibly upset every time B.J. Walker's name came up, and never more so than when he decided he had to go to California.
Mm-hmm. Elaborate, please.
As I said, we were very close. He wanted to marry me, but he said we had to wait until he had resolved things with B.J. He knew he had to be very careful because, well, she's a volatile young girl, potentially dangerous.
Your Honor.
Sustained.
I'm sorry. I've never been on a witness stand before.
You're doing just fine. Stick to the facts, Miss McCarthy.
Anyway, the night before he left, Frank was a nervous wreck. He said he dreaded what was coming.
Mm-hmm. And in light of these reservations, why did he bother to go at all?
Oh, because of the way he felt about her family. They were very close, and he didn't want to lose their friendship because of the misplaced affection of a confused teenager.
Objection. Assuming facts, not in evidence.
Sustained.
And what were you to do in the meantime?
Wait for him in Florida and make wedding plans. But he never came back. Instead, he was murdered. Murdered by that demented child who decided if she couldn't have him, no one else would.
The jury will disregard the witness accusation.
Sure. He can tell them to ignore it, but what good will that do?
Your witness.
Miss McCarthy, you said that you saw a nervous Frank, a fearful Frank, each time the subject of BJ was broached. And what do you base this observation?
I certainly knew Frank well enough to gauge his moods.
Well, from your earlier testimony, it would appear that Frank didn't say much at all. He just reacted.
That's right.
So you're basing your remarks on your own interpretation of how you think the deceased felt. Did you ever see BJ and Frank together?
No.
Then you admit that you're drawing your own conclusions as to how you think Frank felt.
I know what I saw, Miss Wainwright.
Isn't it possible that Frank was an anxious man? Nervousness, anxiety are very similar, wouldn't you say?
I don't know.
You testified earlier that Frank was fearful of confronting BJ because he was afraid as to how she would react to being a scorned lover. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Well, I think Frank was an anxious man who desperately wanted things to work out with BJ despite how perverse and wrong his desires were. And based on what's just happened in this courtroom today, I would say that my theory is just as good as yours, wouldn't you? This is a court of law, Miss McCarthy. Facts, not impressions, are the only things that matter in this forum. And the fact is that BJ is the one that felt it necessary to run 3,000 miles away from Frank. BJ is the one who found it necessary to keep her distance from Frank, not vice versa.
Objection, Your Honor. Is there a question anywhere in sight here, or is defense counsel just presenting her closing arguments?
Sustained.
But she has it all wrong. BJ didn't leave Florida to get away from Frank. She did it to get his attention, to make sure he felt like he had to come after her.
How do you know that?
Because he told me.
Isn't it true, Miss McCarthy, that you are not equipped to speak for Frank Goodman's state of mind? Isn't it true, Miss McCarthy, that you are not equipped to speak for the defendant's state of mind? B.J. Walker could love Frank, she could hate Frank, but you are not an expert to either contingency. Guessing is not allowed.
Objection, badgering the witness.
Sustained.
Well, maybe I can't speak for B.J. Walker, but I have something that can. This is a letter written to Frank on his birthday.
Objection, Your Honor.
And it says, I love you, and I miss you, and I can't wait to see you again. And it's signed, your BJ.
Objection,
Both
Your Honor.
counsel in chamber now.
Is this letter authentic?
Yes, but it isn't the way she made it sound. This is bad, isn't it?
This is not good, BJ.